Yep, got it.
All right, let's go live.
We are in process.
Okay. It says it's recording.
Yep,
Says it's streaming
it'll
live.
say it's recording, but we may not necessarily be live on YouTube. We are now actively live on YouTube. So you can call the meeting to order now.
All right, we didn't hear the woman saying this is being recorded. Do we need that?
I don't think it does that anymore.
Okay,
Good to go, right? Well,
All right.
Mr. Litt is in the audience. Are we good, Mr. Litt? He always keeps me honest. He's not saying we're not, so I think we're good.
Okay, all right. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. It is 11:03 a.m. on March 16th. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Library Board of Trustees will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found in the town of Southborough's website, southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may also do so in the following manner: southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, officially called to order. First order of business, to review and approve the minutes of February 8th and February 16th. Do I have any emendations?
One small comment on the 16th, there was a typo right in the, it says under approval of revised minutes. It was a vice chair. She left out an I.
On the 16th?
Yeah.
Oh, you are eagle-eyed here. Okay, let's see.
I actually have a couple edits I received on the 16th.
Okay,
I can go over those.
all right, why don't you do that?
Just a couple tense and grammatical things tend to be my weakness. So recent and repeat should be, this is in section 1, it should be repeated. And there's just some edits, some sort of grammatical.
Oh, repeated inclement weather, yeah.
Yeah. Was requested, I think, instead of just requested. In number 4, the I in library is capitalized, so that should be lowercase. And then I spelled Kim Ivor's name wrong in section C2. It should be Ivor's, like not a R
Apostrophe at the end, right?
Yeah, Ivers is the S is part of her name, not.
Right.
And then also it was brought up that it goes like 1 through 16, I think in the first 2 sections, and then the numbering goes 1 starting in section C. So the numbering should be 1, 2, 3, 4 in each section. So in section B, we're just going to number those 1 through 7 instead of like 7 through 13. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, any other edits? Okay, motion to approve the minutes of the 16th and also the 8th.
So approved. So moved.
Revised.
Okay, second?
Oh, second, sorry.
Okay, so David has moved, Janet has second. All right, trustee Davis.
Aye.
David?
Aye.
I'm I. Janet?
Aye.
Kim?
I'm I for the 16th. I just wanted to mention I wasn't present for the February 8th meeting.
Yep, okay. And Amy?
Aye.
All right, so passes unanimously. we've got that under control. Reports and discussions.
Just to clarify though, you want
Hmm.
to approve the minutes for the 16th as amended.
As
Yep, yep,
amended,
yep.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so reports and discussions, but we've got Mary with us today, so maybe Mary could give her report first, because I know she's busy, a busy person.
We do not have Mary today. I can't get a hold of her. So-
Okay, all right, so let's go right to reports and discussions then. Ryan?
Do we want to give a brief construction update, Janet, on where we're at with everything quickly?
Well, we haven't had a meeting for a week or so, so you
No.
are the best person to do that.
Okay. The stairs are mostly complete, which is the really good news. We still need to get the metal, instead of, as I'm sure all of you are aware, because you're following the construction project so closely as Janet and I are. The metal hand railing that we used to have in the middle of the stairs is now going to be 2 metal hand railings on the side of the stairs. So those are currently being fabricated and will be shipped to the library and installed hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully sooner than that. We will also be replacing that metal grate on the side that had been warped over time from rust. So that should happen around that's being fabricated along with the hand railings. Once the railings are complete and installed, the entryway can be used again. So at current, it cannot.
Any estimate on when?
Hopefully in 2 to 3 weeks, as soon as the hand railings are installed. We can actually, the grate can still be installed later, but I think
Yeah.
they're planning to do it all at the same time.
Ryan, what's the condition of the walk leading up to the entrance?
It's still closed.
But I mean, is it walkable? Are the bricks up? Are new bricks going
The
down?
new brick, the landing is now all granite. The bricks at the bottom of the base
Yeah.
are, I believe, complete. I have to double check with Scott.
Okay, I was just wondering what condition the walk was in. Okay, so timeline maybe? What do you think?
For the walkway?
For all of it?
For
2 to
all of
3
it?
weeks.
Well, we're
To
still waiting
open
on
the front door. We're waiting on the lintel, right? The entablature?
So once the stairs are complete, the entablature can be done. So we're hoping that the stairs are quicker than 2 to 3 weeks. So then the sign can be chipped away and then installed. We have physical pieces for the sign. They're in the parking lot now.
I
And they
saw
look
them.
terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was beautiful. It looks beautiful even on the ground, right? So good.
And the storm windows are still delayed. We're starting to be in communication with the vendor about that, and they're starting to engage on a time frame, but that looks like sometime in April.
All right.
Ryan, can I ask, you mentioned the sign is on the ground. I haven't been to the parking lot to see it. Is it secured in any way?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it also has a toggle for weather, like if there's intense rain. So it will be exposed to the elements eventually, right? Once it's installed. But at the moment, it's so, I still learn stuff about all this too. The sign is in 3 sections. So it's not one big long sign. It actually was originally installed that way. So they do have them stacked on each other, but they have pallets in between them. So it is secure, and that the gated area that they are located is locked overnight. And honestly, it's locked anytime the workers are not using that area.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No, we're good. It seems to be it's moving right along, which is lovely. How about the director's report, Ryan?
Okay. Let me just bring up the director's report. Yeah, there was kind of a lot there. So, okay, do we want to start with budget?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Because we got to talk about next year, the budget for next fiscal year too, but that's
Okay.
a separate item outside the director's report. So for this year's budget, we have small amount still left in programming. What Kim Ivers and I have done is allocate all that money towards programs. So we're going to do another wine glass paint night. And we got a reduced fee because we're limiting the participants to 12. We had about, I would say, 8 participants in the last session. So we figured 12 would be a good number. That's designed as an adult craft program, which is something we haven't been offering. We're doing that on a Monday night in between the 2 final gardening programs. So I'm hoping I can snag some of our garden attendees who might feel a little crafty.
What do you have for dates on that?
It's in June.
Mhm.
That will be the last of the programs. It's on June 21st.
All right, thanks.
Oh, June 14th, rather. Sorry. The garden program is on the 21st.
Okay, that sounds good.
So June 14th, if you guys want to sign up. Then Kim is doing another craft program in May with Mandy Roberge. We did not originally ask the Friends for money, so we're going to use the program budget. And then the ukulele programs, which people can now officially register for through Southborough Rec, is they are live. They will be taking place on Fridays in May. Thanks to one Mrs. Amy Yazdani. We have the ukuleles in the library as of yesterday, and I'm going to work on cataloging those and making those available for checkout. So if people want to participate in the program and check out a ukulele, they will be able to do that come May. Hopefully by mid-April. I'm hoping I'll have them done.
Yeah, that was a grant through the Southborough Ed Foundation.
Yeah.
So just so that it's out there.
So the ukuleles were funded by the Southborough Education Foundation. And then the actual fee for the programmer was funded by the Southborough Cultural Arts Council. We asked for $500 from SCAC for the program series, but because we're going to be doing 4 sessions, the cost is actually going to be $600. So $100 is coming out of the program budget, which is the remainder for the series.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a very long way to say that I think we only have a couple $100 there, but we're trying to get the best bang for our buck there. We're getting most programs.
What age groups are eligible to sign up?
So for the ukulele, I have to double check what the low threshold is. I believe it's 11 through 19. So we're looking for older kids and teenagers.
Mhm.
That was the original aim of the program series. And the wine glass paint night is ages 18 and up. I would have to double check on the threshold for Kim's. I don't know if it's a cookie decorating one or if it was another. I don't even know what the program is, honestly. I just know that we are doing another Mandy.
There is a cookie decorating for sure.
Okay.
It's like I know Naya's in the age group because she signed up, but I don't know what the thresholds are at all.
I also don't know if that was the one funded by the Friends because we're doing so many craft programs now.
Yeah.
So I'd have to get back to you on that. I'm sorry. I don't have.
Okay, no, that's, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say the ukuleles, their little hands have to fit around the instrument too, is probably part of the, and paying attention, but 11 sounds good, or about right.
We've also offered stuff for younger kids, I think pretty consistently. And the only offering in the past several months for the sort of older kids and teenagers has been the Creative Writing Club. So an aim of this was we had originally planned to do ukuleles last year and it got delayed because of COVID. So this is really a way to offer it again, sort of with the same age group we were looking to do it with.
Well, I think we should say we're very appreciative of the 2 entities that have made it possible for the library to do this, which is
Yes, and
cultural arts.
so each of the organizations donated $500 for this. So in total, we got $1,000 to support this program series.
Which is wonderful. So that's the Southborough Education Foundation, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, which
And the
we are
Southborough
currently, I
Cultural
was just gonna
Arts-
say, we're currently merging with the Southborough Community Fund.
Uh-huh.
So we will be under that umbrella for anybody looking to donate.
Oh, that's great. They've been so generous. It makes a big difference, doesn't it? It's very helpful.
And the Cultural Arts too, right? Ryan did the
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, the Southborough Cultural Arts Council Fund, and that
That's
one,
wonderful.
one of 3 grants they gave the library this year, so.
Which is
And I have to
really,
say, it's amazing how Ryan's able to pull grants from different organizations to make one program happen.
yes, yeah, it's really good. So,
It's a lot of work on his part, I know.
so do we need a letter to both of those entities? I think we sort of do, right?
Well, like a thank you letter?
Mhm.
Mhm.
We could do that.
All right. Anybody want to write it, or shall I do it, or shall I do it with Ryan? Okay, I'll do it with Ryan. We
I think
appreciate.
I have a stash of thank you cards in my office.
Okay, all right.
So we can use those if you want, or if you want to do a long letter, either
Well,
one.
either way, okay, good. I think that'd be nice to do. All right, I see we also have the the town census, right?
Yes, so I know there were a couple questions about this. So this is really just letting you know that we might have a long-term problem. If we, at the end of April, we should get 2020 census data. That is important for us because for 2 factors in sort of our long-term budgeting. It does not, I should say, affect FY22. We're fine for that. This is really for when we start budgeting for next year. So a year from now, we'll be budgeting for FY23, which goes into effect July 1st, 2022. For that, we look at our materials expenditure requirement from the MBLC. For communities over 10,000, we have to allocate 16% of our budget towards materials. For a community under, we have to budget 19%. So so basically, if you have a larger community, you can budget less on books.
So
If-
I'm not understanding why, since we're 10,300 or something at this point, why are the assessment costs going to increase when the
Yeah.
materials are actually less?
So
required?
that's the materials expenditure requirement. So
Mhm.
basically we don't have to spend as much on books. We still can, but the state is saying you have to, at a minimum, put 16% of your budget into materials. We go from, if our population size is over 10,000, from a mini net member of CW Mars to a full membership. The base cost for a mini net member in CW Mars is $1,800. When you go into a full membership, the base membership is $8,000.
What?
Ooh,
So CW Mars recognizes that you cannot increase your budget that significantly that quickly. So they cap out the assessment costs to $1,200 a year. So if our population is over 10,000, starting in FY23, we will have to budget an additional 1,200 in dues to look at this assessment cost. And then that will be until we hit that 8,000 cap.
Okay, in other words, they
People to move out
basically
of
take it
town.
on the installment plan.
Hold on, everybody talked at once. So
Okay.
do we want to go with Marguerite first?
Well, I'm just saying that basically they're cushioning the blow by extracting it a little bit a year at a time. But we're still gonna have to increase our dues budget. Okay. Janet, did you want to speak?
I was just saying, unless we can get people to move out of town. Should be cheaper.
And then David, do you have something?
no, I was just laughing, smirking.
Our
Yes.
should
Kim, I
say-
think Kim, would you like to speak? Do you-
I guess, Ryan, if you could clarify this percentage, it's basically impacting us because we're just right on the cusp of that 10,000 population. But this is the spend minimum is a requirement for like being eligible for state aid. Is that correct?
Yes, so for state aid, and then if you were significantly below the materials expenditure requirement that the MBLC sort of I don't want to say mandates, they give a guideline, but if you dip below that significantly, you have to apply for what's called a waiver through the state program. And a number of libraries had to do that because their funding was cut this year. I think this week it won some sort of record because of COVID, because I think we have like at least 50 libraries applying for waivers at this point. What happens, you have a certain number of years to get out of the waiver program. And the idea is to engage with your town on letting them know why the library needs to be funded in the way that it is. And MBLC reps actually will come out and help you in some of those meetings with your town.
It's hard to get back from a waiver once you've done it. And the towns I
Yeah.
know that have had it's a lot of work to get rid of the waiver once you've got it. And we're not as economically strapped as a lot of libraries. So I don't even know if it's worth thinking about. I guess we just have to think about another way to get $1,200 every year.
So can you confirm, so a mini net member, that $1,800 figure, that's an annual membership versus an 8,000 annual membership for full membership?
Right.
Yep.
I thought you said 1,200 a year. It's 1,800 a
Yeah.
year?
It
No,
increments by
so
that.
It's $1,200 a year additionally every year until we reach the,
Until
Oh,
you
yeah.
reach 8,000.
right.
Right.
But we're doing 1,800 now, and we will need to be doing
Oh.
8,000 for FY23.
a lot of this is notification of, because first of all, I don't want to stress anyone. This might not be an issue. If our census data comes back at the end of April and we are below 10,000, we're fine. We don't need to, we still will look at the assessment costs and budget based on that. What I'm letting you know is starting in FY23, you may see it go up a little over $1,000 every year. And you might be like, why? Why is this happening? And it's based on, because they assess by population size, and the under 10,000 versus the over 10,000 is a pretty significant jump. Jane, they cap the amount each year so that you don't go from paying 1,800 in year A to paying 8,000 in year B, because most
Okay.
communities can't do that. We
You
really,
couldn't handle it. Yeah.
I think if we went before the town administration and advisory, they'd be like, why are you increasing this over $6,000? And that would be a fair question. So, you know, this is something I'll probably have to let them know in advisory. You know, our population size went up. We're going to have to pay a little bit more as a result of that.
So the fact that we could reduce our materials budget is still not going to cover the $1,200 additional dollars. If we reduce to 16%, it's still not gonna equate to an additional $1,200. I mean, I hate to cut educational materials because that's sort of what we're
Kind
here
of
for.
what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, we are monitoring the database statistics, and we can look at, you know, if there's a significant financial jump year to year. We usually do budget, just to let you know, about $1,000 to $2,000 more as a minimum as part of our assessment costs. So you might not even really see a difference. I'm just letting you know that you might, and this might be something we have to discuss in FY23.
yes, and
Okay,
it
no,
is
I
going
get
to
it.
come up eventually. I mean, the town's really not going to shrink, even though it will be helpful to us if it did a little bit. But this is going to happen eventually.
Our 2015 population estimate
Yeah.
from the census was 10,037 people. So we hit the threshold by 37 people. So I've discussed this with the executive president of CWMARS, Jeanette Lundgren, and we will continue having conversations about this. And if there's stuff I need to make you aware of, I just want to let you know that this might be something we're talking about next year.
It's coming eventually, I assume. So thank you, Ron, for the heads up on that.
I didn't realize that the population size increased our assessment costs that much. So it's news to me, and I thought it was news that you guys need to know. So
It's quite a jump indeed,
Yeah.
anyway. Okay, any other questions about this, or shall we move on to the DPW? Okay, Ryan?
Let's move on.
So this is just a notification. Now that the weather is getting nicer and we see a lot less snow around, there were a couple pending items with Karen that we were going to work on in the spring. So I had reached out to her, that's Karen Galligan, the DPW superintendent, and we were going to just look at installing that USB solar panel bench that we got from the Choate Recreation Fund last year through a grant. The Story Walk display, which we haven't talked about in a long time, but Kim and I are still excited about. We just quoted out an update for the pillars, and I think there's like a little bit more we have to pay. I think inflation kind of hit us, and it's within $100. It's not that much, so we might take that money out of like office supplies, something like that, or state aid.
What's the cost of the repair altogether?
The Story Walk?
No, not the story walk,
No,
the
The
brick pillars.
The brick pillars are being paid for by the vendor that broke them.
So you don't know what the cost is?
I could get back on that. I do have the cost of it.
Well, it doesn't matter. In
Doesn't
other words,
matter.
the construction subcontractor, whoever that is paying for it.
So it's Easy Signs Online, Easy with the Z,
Mhm.
and they have been in touch with Karen about the replacements. So they don't
Okay.
do. Well, first of all, we don't, at one point we thought that one pillar needed to be replaced when we discussed this a long time ago, and then they damaged the other one. The vendor
Okay.
said that both pillars need to be replaced anyway because they have no way to match the color
Yeah.
of the existing ones. So they will both be replaced at one point. So that sign will temporarily be unavailable while that's.
So I have a question at this point. The bench is going up there, the front's gonna be open. There's 2 signs for Southborough Library in the lawn there. The pathway is I assume that little macadam pathway from the corner into the entrance at the lower entrance is gonna stay there. Do we need a landscaping plan, or are we just gonna keep plopping things down there until? Because there's also the bench with the tables. And
There's
that's
also the garden, the new
yes, and the
vegetable
garden.
garden.
So are we gonna
Yeah.
like I mean, I'm looking at you, Jane, when I'm saying this. Do we need
Yeah, no,
do-
we need to
okay,
move that garden.
Yes, I hear here. I think we need some kind of overall plan before it starts to look like somebody's backyard. It's got so much stuff in it at this point, and the bench is going in and the garden is supposed to be there.
Does
So-
the solar bench have to go in that corner? Couldn't it be around the back somewhere? Ryan?
I could.
Has to be where there's light though, right? Not the trees that hang over.
Well, the thought it would be to sort of invite people to come and sit and charge their phones and sit on the benches there.
Well,
Yeah,
the
but we
original
have a
plan
nice,
was,
we have a nice garden around to the left of the library,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be more over there. The gardeners spruced up the garden there, plus up above, doesn't Kim take kids out there for reading time? And it's sunny over there.
Is it time to start talking about a landscaping plan now that the construction's over?
I
That
think
sounds
that
like
would
a
be a
good
good idea.
Yeah. Anybody want to be in charge of that, Jane?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you mind?
I'd love
Well,
to.
I
Thank
mean, we
you.
have landscapers that come that are hired by DPW already.
Yeah, but they just mow. I think we need some
They
help
just
on where
mow.
to put everything.
Well, Karen
Yeah.
has some suggestions for relocating the stone pillar sign, the granite one.
Well, even that
Oh.
one's now too close to the sidewalk, so
Well, she also, I think, would like to discuss the long-term feasibility of having that walkway that comes
she
diagonally.
wants to take it out. Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't, I think we should hear what her proposal is and see what she wants to do. But Jane, I am open to putting the bench another place. We haven't installed it yet. The original idea was to make that bench part of the seating area outside to add.
Okay,
But if you think it's too busy in that area, we can look at other potential places to put it.
okay,
right now
I'm not,
you go ahead, Jane.
yeah, I'm not sure what it really looks like. I we can talk about this later if you want,
Okay.
Ryan.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have sort of at least something on paper as a kind of general idea. Right now you have a walkway, 2 benches, another bench coming in, 2 signs, and 2 garden boxes in that 1/4 of the library landscaping, which is, it's gonna look cluttered.
Well, that is it. I'm not doing any,
So what's the
You
sense?
say
of the-
that now.
We are right. What, yes, here comes the fountain, right? So,
Famous last words.
and yes.
Nice
exactly.
idea.
Oh, a fountain.
Fountain.
And 2 trees. Did I leave out the trees? Okay, so what's the best idea to handle this? Should Jane, do you want to look at it with somebody else and just sort of? give
Yeah,
it-
well, wait, what Ryan said is I think maybe we should speak to Karen and see what her thoughts are about the path and what, and then maybe find an independent party to give us some input.
All right.
Is that all right?
Do you want to talk to Karen or do you?
well,
want me to do it?
well,
How do you want to do it?
can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Yes,
I think Jane and I
Mhm.
can try to set a meeting to talk to Karen, to talk about some of these pending issues.
All right.
And then maybe Jane can try to reach out to somebody who could give like a consult on the property
yes,
to give some suggestions. And then if there's a cost involved with that, we'd have to come back to the board anyway, right? Like if they want to be paid for the consult or if they'll give us like a free one.
All
Yeah.
right.
So
Is
let-
that
let's let-
agreeable to everybody?
that's fine. I think that's a good, I agree with Ryan. We'll start with Karen and then spread out from there. Is
All
that
right.
o-
If you need
is that
any help, Jane,
agreeable?
I'll help.
Ryan,
Oh,
is the
great.
remediation, while we're talking about this, is the remediation of those huge ruts from the heavy equipment going in and out, is that part of what is already included in the overall cost of the project? And does that need additional attention at the same time?
So I would have to double check on that, David. I don't know if the people doing the construction actually will, I don't think they replant the lawn for him.
No.
I think what happens is Karen comes out and DPW does that.
Sorry, I've been trying to get in, and then I
So-
saw your email, right?
So the town is responsible for the remediation of, I mean, because some of those ruts are 6, 8 inches deep. I mean, it's an unholy mess out there. I don't have to tell
Well,
you.
Mary, maybe you can address that. We
Yeah.
talked a little bit about the progress of the work, but now the question is the condition of the lawn from the vehicles.
So they're gonna rake it out and they'll have to reseed that area. And it'll
They
take a
being
while.
who, Mary?
The contractor,
Okay,
Okay.
they own restoring it.
so that's as good as done then, as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, they definitely, we've already spoken about the ruts from the machine. They definitely own raking that out, and then they'll put down some seed.
All right.
Mary, Ryan and Mary, I'll bring this up together. Is there more information that we need about the restoration project, or have we sort of covered that?
Sorry, Mary. I'm just gonna stick with what they're talking about right now for a minute, but
Yep.
and we can move on to a brief construction update. We did talk a little bit about the status of the stairs already. So,
Okay.
so just with regards to the garden, I was going to work with Kate Donovan from Blackstone Valley Veggie Gardens on doing soil in the seed beds. Jane, I'll connect with you before we do that, because if we want to move the seed bed boxes, we should probably decide if we want to move forward with using that, at least for this year, or if we want to remove them completely. So just to let you know, we probably won't plant anything there at this point until Jane and I talk. I think I put it elsewhere in the report. The members of the Open Space Preservation Commission want to use part of the property as a native plant sort of installation. It's really, they're calling it a native plant garden because they're going to maintain it. So there's an area, if you're parking at the parking lot in the back, where when you're looking at the property, it's directly next to where the septic system kind of ends. So it's about midway from the parking lot. That is the area that's going to be designated as the OSPC garden, the native plant garden. So they are hoping to have a variety of native plants there, which I'm told require very little maintenance, but also that we're going to try to find volunteers to maintain. And they also are interested in trying to see if they can have sections of native grass there as well, further back. So we were looking at kind of how the light hits it. We think that it will be okay, even with the tree line in the back. And that is not an area we've really ever talked to the gardeners about maintaining because it's so pushed back from the property. You know, we always look at areas that are a lot closer to the building. We also thought this was kind of good because it's where the story walk will essentially end. So people who walk the story walk will be able to see the garden at the end. And then, you know, I think Freddie Gillespie was interested in putting some signs on the property to let people know what the garden was and some information. We're hoping to also partner with OSPC on some programming. So like we can talk about, you know, the importance of native plants and, you know, pollinator programs, winter sow when it's next year. So there's a variety of different programming aspects, but I want to make you guys aware that I met with them and they are still interested in pursuing that, and costs of that will come out of the garden grant.
That
Right.
sounds great. I know that the story time and so on is on the regular lawn. Is the DPW using an herbicide on that?
I don't believe so. But that's a question for Karen Galligan.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Mary, do you want to give us a brief update? I know you're a busy person.
Yeah, today was a little hectic. We're working with the contractor to get the railings off the roof. They were gonna bring out the crane tomorrow. Now it's probably gonna be Friday, Ryan, because we didn't want the crane there while the ADA people were trying to get into the building to inspect it. So we're on the roof laying down the rails for now. They'll be ready to be craned off on Friday. And we instructed them to clean up the parking lot as much as they can to make it look as least like a construction zone as they can today. So they're working on that. So the ADA inspection will be tomorrow and the crane will come off. The crane will come back out on Friday to remove the railings. The roof inspection by the manufacturer, Carlisle, will be tomorrow morning at 8:30. And I'm trying to push that till 2:30 because that's when I will be there with the consultant we hired. Richard Gorman, Russo and Barr. They speak the same language. It's just helpful if they're there at the same time, you know, to look at things and discuss and know why it happened and not have to go back and forth and get a big punch list that really isn't a punch list. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Front stairs, I think Ryan already went over. The railings were templated this week. The sign has been chipped. We're turning the corner. The windows, the storm windows will be in March. So we're getting,
Okay. I said April, so
yeah, well, end of March,
end of March, okay.
yeah, so March, April. By the time they're installed, it'll probably be April, which is actually better because the lawn will dry out a bit. It won't be tearing it up even more than it is now.
It looks great, even on the ground, the sign.
Good.
Mary, what's the ADA compliance? Is that the side entrance and the elevator?
I'll go over that. That's
Okay.
separate from construction. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in, Mary.
No, but I would like to point out that John Parent is concerned about it. I don't think there's anything really to worry about. I think your last project really put you in compliance. Your bathrooms are accessible, your entrance is accessible. So the town's just doing its due diligence and reviewing the buildings.
Well, while Mary is here, does anybody have any additional questions for her?
Actually, I did. The lower entrance has two pillars and a kind of little roof, porte-cochere kind of thing. The pillars have been hit so many times that the bottoms are crumbling. I know they're not part of a restoration, but they are going into the old building. Is there anything we can do with that?
That's actually the new building where they enter.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then the answer is no. I just would sort of like to get that out there as that's, it's not the most, it's, they've outlived their, how shall I say, they've been hit so many times, they look shabby. And I'm just wondering if there's since it is the entrance, another entrance to the building, if it's ADA compliant, do we need the pillars there? Can we get new pillars, something? I'm just putting that out there, Ryan.
At the conclusion of the facade restoration project,
Mm-hmm.
we could see if Mary would be interested in consulting with us on recommendations to replace.
For the second entrance, yeah.
Yeah, it is, she is correct. That is part of the addition, and it enters into part of the library that is directly the addition. The brick to the side that's between the Babar and the Paddington paintings, that's actually the old exterior of the building.
Right, right.
That's a little library fun fact.
That entrance with those pillars went up within the last 20 years, so it's nothing. And the pillars are some kind of resin, and they've just crumbled from getting hit by trucks and shovels and on and on and on. And they, in my opinion, they do not create a good impression of the entrance.
Well, I don't think this contractor is interested in more work. We could add, there is a contingency in the project for facilities side, but not very large. So it would be up to John to say, yeah, spend it.
All right, okay, I just thought I'd bring it up, just while
Good
we're
time
at-
to bring it up, since we've got them here.
I'm more concerned,
Yeah.
I'm more concerned that that's your main entrance and they've been hit. Perhaps you need some bollards.
Some what?
Some what?
Some safety bollards. I'm just more concerned if they're, I mean, who's hitting these?
So what Marguerite's referring to is that there were sort of the very flimsy square things at the bottom of the
Yeah, they had
pillars.
pedestal bases that were plastic, basically.
Yeah, they're actually no longer there. And I think what happened was when we were shoveled out in the winter,
Okay.
because they weren't the same size as the pillars, they kind of jutted out pretty significantly. And then the pillars are stable. Let me just say that, because
Right there.
sounds like we're talking about pillars that might collapse at an entryway. And then as John and I have confirmed that the pillars are there, but you can clearly see a discoloration from where the pillars end and then where those sort of square boxes at the end of the pillars used to be.
Right, the whole thing needs a makeover. And I guess it would, I mean, when we finish with the front, maybe it'd be good to start addressing.
Excuse me.
I
The
would-
pillars are basically PVC pipes
Right.
that are stuck in the ground. And so anyway, so a project for another day, but
Excuse me.
So just so you know, the entrance to the
Bless you.
children's room is getting painted by facilities in the spring. So they may do something to that entrance too, if you ask them.
okay. David, were you gonna?
A quick question, Mary, a question about the L word. What level of confidence do you have that we are inoculated from any further leaks?
Oh, I was wondering what the L word was.
Yeah.
That's why we're having a independent third-party inspector. I think we're in great shape, but I think the biggest thing will be maintenance, maintaining those roof drains. That's something that facilities should look at a minimum of once a year, whether it's a visual inspection or they hire a company to go out there and make sure that they're clear.
So maybe on some kind of calendar in the library, just, you know, June and December or April and October, just go out and clean the drains, just have it done regularly.
Yeah, I believe, would that come under facilities? Does that come?
It
under-
would come under facilities, yeah.
Yeah, so he can set it up because he probably has drains on other town buildings that he wants done at the
Okay,
same
thank you,
time.
that's useful, right. Good question, David. We don't want to have to paint the inside and lay down carpet and then have it get wet.
Amen.
Not good. Okay, Mary, any other things we should know?
We're just trying to wrap up and get out of there. It's taken a little longer than we thought. You know, it took a while to get the roofer there and then we get some snow. We did add a lot of substantial work to the front stairs. That's what prolonged that. You know, once we opened them up and saw how they needed some structural reinforcement. But they look great now. I think Ryan's gonna dance on them.
We all will. It's great. thank you for your ongoing help on this project.
Oh, you guys have been easy. You guys are great to work with.
It's been wonderful to have you there running interference.
I won't mention some of the other municipalities that I can't wait to finish up in.
Oh, we're so mellow here in South Row. It's really good.
You are, yeah.
That's good. That's good. If there aren't any questions, I know, Mary, you're busy. You probably want to get back out and
Sorry,
brush fire, right? I know.
Yeah, it took me a bit to get in, unfortunately, but I got in. I guess I was originally in there as a town viewer. Because I could hear you and see you, but I couldn't speak
Couldn't
or,
speak. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so no other questions?
no? Well,
Mary, thank you, and we'll see you again later.
sounds good, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Okay, Ryan, you want to pick up where we left off? The story walk, have we covered that sufficiently?
Yes, so there just is going to be a slight overage in the cost of the story walk versus the amount we got from the Southborough Community Fund last year. So a part of it is, do you want me to take that out of budgeted money, or do you want me to take it out of state aid? It would probably make the most sense to take it out of state aid. I can get you the exact amount next month once we purchase them, but I believe it's under $100. It was that close, so.
I think we could leave it to your discretion. I think state aid sounds good.
Okay.
Everybody good on that?
They were both 5,100. Like we originally budgeted based on the cost we got, and then I re-quoted it, and the price had gone up only a little bit, so.
Good, it sounds good. Thank you for your work on that, Amy, too. It sounds like it's gonna be fun. All right, so
Happy to do.
it'll be wonderful. The restrictions for COVID will be lifting, the spring will be here, and the story walk will be happening. All good things, right? Okay, so Ryan, how about the library service updates?
We've been busy. So I think we're in like week 4 of the using the catalog to schedule the curbside pickups. That's been going extremely well. People like it, so we're going to keep going. I think when we had originally discussed it, it was about to be live. I'm pretty sure we're in week 4, and we had started with 10 appointments per hour. We've increased it to 15. That has been working, so we're going to keep it at 15. The biggest thing I think that's difficult for people is they don't realize that they can schedule their appointment in advance. So a lot of people schedule it same day once they get the notification, because it defaults in the calendar to the same day. So coming up with some documentation to tell people, how to move it to day 2 or day 3 if they want to do that.
Good.
Let's do pen pal next, because that was last week. We have about at least a dozen people interested. We were starting to pair those people. We definitely have more kids who want to write letters than seniors, which is fine. But we did offer like volunteer credit to high school kids if they participated in this program. And a couple people are taking us up on that. So we're going to partner, it looks like, some of the high school kids with some of the younger kids.
Oh, nice.
We're going to approach it. I should say a dozen pairs of people too. So we're going to have about 12, it looks like 10 to 12 active pen pal exchanges. So that puts the amount of people participating more in like the 20 to 24 range. A couple people, I guess they thought they were going to be mailing stuff back and forth. And we had a participant who I guess is in Southborough normally, but they're in Florida right now, and they wanted to participate. The idea behind the pen pal program was to make the library both a drop off and a pickup. So we are trying to find ways for that Florida participant or people who wanted to participate via mail, like if we become an intermediary and then we just kind of, set that up so that people can become independent pen pals of the library if they are interested. But we're still going to be primarily doing that, having the drop off and the pickup at the library. So we've kind of been launching a new thing every week. So Pen Pal was last week. The book bundles are this week. We already have, as of this morning, we had 32 people who had submitted book bundles in the first 24 hours. So I'm 32 may not sound like a lot to you as a new service or a new program on the first day. That's a big deal for me. I think it was a very successful program that was really spearheaded by Amy Townsley, who thought it would be good if we engaged with the public on trying to provide recommendations. It's going to be good for our circulation numbers, I would say, at year end too, because a lot of people are saying they just want 10 books and they're letting us pick those books. So that has been good.
Who named it Southborough?
Oh, sorry, it's South Barrow. That
Yeah.
was Amy's idea.
That's
So Amy,
wonderful. Who
yeah,
named
Amy
it?
Townsley gets the credit. We were talking about book bundles and I couldn't come up with like a cute name. So she came up with South Barrow.
I've had neighbors already saying how funny it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell her we all thought it was great.
Yeah.
So next week is going to be the launch of the seed exchange, which there's credit to a couple of staff members, especially Michaela, who came in for an extra shift to start off. I know Kathy Kalenda, Carol have helped a little bit, but this is really Pat Ellis's project, and she has worked extremely diligently, extremely hard on putting it together. I don't think we have a final number of packets. We were aiming for more than last year. We are not just sort of because if you recall, it was about to go live the day after we closed.
Right.
So this year, we're not going to mail it out because it was several $100s to do that. We are going to be providing the seeds via curbside pickup. So it's going to be similar to the Southborough bundles. We have a form set up. People are going to be able to request seeds. And as long as our stock continues, we're putting them more in generic categories. So like we have a couple different tomato seeds, but you can make a request for tomato seeds and then we'll send you what we have based on our inventory.
Okay, so if somebody in town is not familiar with this, just in 2 sentences, can you explain what they would get out of this if they participated?
Sure. So you can sign up to receive seeds to grow your own herbs, vegetables, and I think we have some limited flowers available.
And the seeds are provided by?
The library. The Friends of the Library funded a large number of the seeds. We also have gotten donations of people who participated in the program last year. So we've gotten some people who've donated their own seeds. So that's been good. It already is an exchange, even though the building has been closed. There's a drop-off box outside. So if people have seeds they want to donate, we're still accepting donations. We're going to run it. This is a little different from last year too. It's going to be run for a 3-week period where people can request the seeds so that's until April 9th. On April 10th, we're going to be doing our first outdoor adult event. And that will be a library seed swap. And for any of the unused inventory for the seeds, people can come and they'll be able to physically pick them up on site.
Are
I
any
have
of
a
these?
Oh,
Go ahead, Jane.
Oh, you said the seeds are supplied by the library. Does that mean you've purchased seeds?
Yes. So we did an order for the seeds and the Friends of the Southborough Library reimbursed us.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any heritage seeds happening?
Heritage seeds, do you mean native plants? Yeah, people have donated some native plant seeds. So we'll be able to make what people have donated available. It is difficult, the way that a lot of the native plants are stored, the seeds, some of them have to be frozen. So that made it a logistic problem for us since we don't have a freezer at the library.
Only in the fridge, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't work anyway. Okay, so that's
It's a great program. Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
Yes, so just to let you guys know, we had 150 people participate in the mail order seat exchange last year. So our aim is to up that number. So we already have a number of people who have expressed interest. And this is, I think we're kind of waiting to launch it on Monday to a certain extent, but we have a lot ready to go. And we have some information that we're going to be able to put out on the seed swap as well. We're coming up with sort of a garden information packet. So if you're new to gardening, you want to get some seeds and try some stuff, you'll be able to get a packet of information at that event. And then any unused ones we'll make available after.
It sounds great. I just want to, I'm looking at the time here and I'm wondering if anyone has a hard stop. Nope. Okay, we're good. All right. So I think we dealt with the Open Space Preservation Committee on the Native Plant Garden already.
Yeah, I'm continuing to have conversations with them, but I just wanted to make you aware that they'll be using part of the property and that Karen is going to be working with them on allocating that area. So it's easier for me to show than tell. So if you guys are, Jane and I will go over this, but when she's here, but if you guys want to come on site and have me show you the area that they're going to be using it, it's basically, it's further down the property in front of the parking lot. So I can show you that.
That's good. I don't want to be rushing us, but we have we have to take a vote on the budget. And then we have to talk about the job description for the assistant library director. And then we have to talk about the candidates night, meeting the candidates. All coming up probably in the next, well, I hope we can fit it in an hour. So
I think the director's report is done for me.
right.
I mean, there's more there, but if you, sorry, I went on so long. If you,
No, it's all important. Can we go to the expense report just briefly and then move to the approving our budget again? We have to.
yeah,
vote.
sure. Any questions on the expense report?
Nope.
Okay, done.
Okay, let's go to the budget.
So you did get some emails a couple weeks ago. I will note advisory has already voted to approve our budget. So that's done. So I don't know if that influences your vote at all. You guys still need to independently vote it, but we needed to, Betsy Rosenblum, the chair of the personnel board, sent out that the tables for Schedule A and Schedule C were increasing by 1.9%. We were budgeting page positions at the lowest that we could in Schedule C, grade 1. So because the chart is going up, we have to increase the pages salaries. That was a few $100s. So that was
Overall total increase is a few $100s.
Yeah, for
Okay.
all 5 of the pages.
All right.
And
this
we
budget
also
reflects that.
that budget reflects it, the one we have. It also reflects the fact that they will be moving. I know there were questions, I think last year, about why we pay for water when we don't pay for any other utilities. So this was also something that I guess advisory was looking at, and they wanted to move all of the water budgets into facilities. So that is now going to be a line item in the facilities budget, and it is no longer going to be in ours. So the offset cost is we had to increase a little bit because of the library pages going up 1.9%. And then we had to decrease because we're taking the water budget out. So I think I'll share with you what Kathy Cook told me, which is just because we're taking water out doesn't mean we should be increasing our budget. And that's not what we did. It just was a timing issue. We took water out and we had to increase the pages because that was when I got sent the information about the table.
Okay, so the budget I have still has the water line in it.
It should be zeroed out though.
It's not.
It's not. It says FY22 request 500.
And mine has the same.
Then I sent you guys the wrong one.
While you're looking, Ryan, I just have a question. Is there a reason that these decisions aren't made before we're required to submit and approve our budget? Or is that just something you have no idea about?
I honestly, we have the discussion every year where we are hoping during the budget process that the increase rate for employees, which is a big part of the budget, is decided before we are asked to submit one to the town finance team, which is really Mark and Brian, and I think Carla's on it now. So she's the town accountant. I can't answer that question. I'm happy to ask that question next time I talk to Mark and Brian. I think part of it is boards and committees need to meet and they need to make decisions, like the personnel board votes on the employee increase rate. And typically those timeframes don't match up.
It's a good question, Amy, and as near as I can tell, the whole budget process for the town has a lot of moving parts. And Janet will know this better than anyone, but they're like the water disappearing. I think the idea to do that was fairly recent. So it's a process that doesn't have, I can't call it inefficient. I'll just say that it's a mutual back and forth between a lot of boards and a lot of possibilities. So
Sort of
yes.
ongoing. It
Yes.
doesn't have a beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And okay, we're glad to lose the water, and yes, we could expect that there would be a pay raise, but both of those factors came in after we looked at the budget 4 or 5 times. So what can you do?
Agree. One thing I wanted to mention, I'm just comparing the budget dated 3/16 versus the one we got on 2/15. And so it looks like the bottom line number on the version on 3/16 did take out the $500 for the water. We're just still seeing it in the line item.
In the line item. Okay.
In the line
Ryan,
item.
I guess when you zero that out, I don't know if the 500 was taken out on that bottom line instead. So just be careful to make sure that the formulas
Okay.
are correct.
Yeah, it looks like this might be an Excel error. The number that you guys should have as the bottom line is 573,329.
And it
It
is,
is.
but
yeah.
we're still seeing the 500 in the water line item.
Yeah, we're still seeing that.
Yes, I'm sorry. So that's a typo. $500 should be in professional development. And catch that.
Oh,
So the 500 that's in water was, it's really should be in professional development.
Oh, good. So our numbers are good. It's
Yes,
just-
so I did actually send you the right budget, but I took the $500 out of the wrong line item. So I apologize about that.
Okay, no, please, it's so complicated.
And I can make mistakes, so I apologize.
I have a question, Ryan, and maybe it's the device I look at it on, but is there a way when you send the new budgets that just like it can highlight the changes you've made? Because I'm not seeing it. And so I'm having to print them all out and lay them all side by side.
Compare the picture.
Yeah.
I usually attach a memo that goes with
Yeah.
advisory. I should do that again. I think I could change the color, I guess, or we could add a note. We were doing that with some of the prior expense reports. So I could put a note that the change is there.
I just didn't know, like, some like Word has a thing that just does it for you when like you're comparing 2 documents. I just was trying to, if there's a way to do it without making you do a whole lot of extra work, it would be helpful.
I can try to figure out ways to do that in Excel. Yeah.
If possible. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have any more discussion about this, or shall we vote to accept with the emendation that professional development is going to be 500 and line 52,300 water is going to be 0?
yes, I move that we accept the amended budget.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right. All those in favor, Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Eckberg,
aye.
Landry, aye. Janet,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Okay, so that the budget as amended is passed unanimously, and let's hope it stays that way now.
I apologize for the error, and I
know.
won't have to change the budget again.
I don't know how you keep it so straight, actually. It's eternally morphing into something else.
I think we're clear from the typo. I didn't keep it straight. I mean,
Oh, there it is. Okay, so where are we? We are on
Did we hear anything about the carpeting?
No,
Capital budget hasn't finished then? Yep.
No, we don't even know if they did a thumbs up or a thumbs down on our request. That's a good question though, Janet. Do we go to
Ja-
town meeting and ask for it anyway when it's time? Probably.
well, Janet, I'm happy to reach out, but if you wouldn't mind, I know Kathy Cook is on the capital planning committee.
Sure.
I don't know if you'd feel comfortable reaching out to her and just seeing if it's still on
I'll
board.
do it. I'll do it while we're here.
Okay.
Good. All right, how about the reopening plan? This is a new item.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Litt just told us that Kathy resigned from capital planning, so we can reach out to Mr. Melanowski
Interesting. Okay.
or Mr. Pfaff.
Things change all the time. Okay, so the
Yeah.
reopening plan.
I had a couple of questions, but I should have approached you ahead of time and didn't. Is this the time to discuss it? Or
Yes, Jane, please.
I just had a couple of thoughts reading through your draft plan, and one was, you say appointments can be made online using this form or by calling the phone number. I think to streamline it a little, don't give them a form. Tell them to call and plug it right into their file. Make it, so as far as it will help you with contact tracing and it will save time.
Okay,
Don't give them a choice. I mean, people are you've introduced curbside appointments online. Why not just go with it and keep it this way? Because if the people who are using the library are already familiar with that kind of interaction. Just a suggestion for less work for the staff anyway. And I think you have to contact trace, don't you?
Yes.
we will be contact tracing, at least in the first 2 phases. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jane,
you're going to duplicate efforts if you have to have someone doing data entry after the fact.
Well, that's a good idea. And so basically you're saying make an appointment by calling the library.
I guess
Yes.
I'm confused because I thought that Ryan said that when they introduced the form, like the online sign up for curbside pickup, patrons like that a lot. So wouldn't this be in a similar vein?
Yeah, I would think that if you do it online, that's easier and you have all the information that way. Calling seems the opposite.
Yeah, so Jane, just to give you feedback on why I put both in the plan, was we have received feedback from patrons that some people prefer to do scheduling completely online. And they don't like calling the library, especially because when we were doing sort of a manual curbside operation, there was a lot of phone calls back and forth. As far as scheduling an appointment, I don't think that's the same situation, right? People are going to call, we're going to be able to schedule an appointment. We should hopefully, and get their contact information. We should be able to do that all in one phone call, would be the hope. They may have to call when they get here, but we're hoping to install a wireless doorbell. We've already talked to facilities about that. It hasn't been installed yet.
Now, Ryan, we're talking about 9 visits a week, right?
Yeah.
That's not a lot. Yeah. So I don't know.
Wait, what? 9?
But
It's
I would
not.
say, just to Jane's point,
There are 9 appointments a week to visit
Yeah.
the library.
yeah, so at least initially. So to Jane's point, though, I think because we sort of have to do contact tracing and we have to go over the rules with people, trying to do this on the phone might not be a bad idea, so that we're having a conversation with patrons and we can engage them on any questions. To sort of go to what Kim and Amy were saying, I want to try to make appointments as accessible for patrons as possible. And if people are writing their own contact details in advance, that actually helps to decrease some of the work that the staff will have to do as far as an intake over the phone. So I'm not really weighing in one side or the other. There is kind of pros and cons. I think part of why we'd look at a by appointment model initially is so that we can structure it. And I would say if there's only one way they can make appointments, that makes it a little bit more structured, which is the intention.
So basically not, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jane. I was
Oh,
just
no,
gonna-
I had something to say. I was just going to say, do you have an example of the form or has that not been completed?
I would have to create it, which I've worked on some drafts, but I haven't completed it yet.
Okay, and then I guess my other question, Marguerite, since you mentioned that there are only 9 slots, and I see that on this document, I guess what I wasn't fully comprehending is our public building capacity, not including staff, is 5. So if a single person takes the Tuesday slot number 1 at 4 o'clock, does that mean 4 other people cannot sign up to come at that same time?
That's correct. So it'd be 1 appointment per time. Kim, I've talked to Kim Ivers a lot. We went over this plan in depth. She's probably a little sick of having conversations with me about it, but we did talk about if we have somebody who is interested in using the children's room, and then there's also somebody who would like to use the upstairs area just to browse books, feasibly, we can do those appointments at the same time because they're using different areas of the library. The same boat for the teen room. We can have somebody in the teen room and the children's room at the same time. So I think there's some flexibility there on the amount of appointments we can do. The
So
4,
we could really do 18 appointments.
You could do more.
Nine
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 people in the library is not very many. And if particularly since there are 2 floors and 3 different distinct sections of the library, unless you think they need supervising by staff. Is
Right.
that part of the formula that you need to have a staff member with them?
the staff member wouldn't follow them around the building, but we want to make sure that there's a staff member assigned to help them with something that they would need. So if they're
Right.
coming in to do faxing or they're coming in to, we want to give people the option to pick up holds in person if they want to. So, we'd have to have a staff member available to check out. So yes, the short answer to your question, Jane, is yes. Not that we're going to be following 6 feet behind.
No, I didn't mean that, but I mean just to have someone available, as you said, to help them. And you also need someone at the circulation desk. But it also says you'll have a staff member will greet them at the door.
So that is really like, it'll be me or Kim, depending on where they're going. And then it's really making sure that we're available to help them with what their needs are when they come in.
So, but that means, let me just a thought, that means you've got someone down there solely for the purpose of, I mean, I know everywhere you go in now, they have someone counting occupancy numbers, but what if, and I know the phone call wasn't good for my last comment, but what if they get there, they call, and then you go down? So you don't have someone just hanging out in the bottom hallway there. It would be more, I'm here, can I come in now? So that's just would cut down on wasted time.
Yeah, so the only time we're going to have somebody stationed down there is in the second phase. When people make the appointments, we're only going to have somebody go down to greet them when we let them in the building for their appointment.
Okay, so Ryan, has any of the staff been vaccinated yet?
We have some of our part-time people have been, because they're in different qualifying groups.
But no.
None of the full-time staff members have been
No
vaccinated
full-time.
at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question?
So, Jane, I like your idea of calling when you get downstairs to have somebody come and let you in. That makes a
No,
lot.
my idea was that when the patron gets there, instead of, well, you said they make the appointment. People don't always arrive exactly when, I have a 2 o'clock appointment. Am I going to be at the door at 2 o'clock? Or I'm just saying maybe they could call you once they are in the parking lot and you could go down, instead of saying, oh, I have a 2 o'clock person coming and going down there and waiting.
Mhm.
It's a small point, but I mean, again, you're going to be,
It seems very time efficient to have them call when they arrive to be let in.
Janet,
So I'm not clear whether this is 9 appointments a week, or if it's going to be 18 appointments a week, because the children's room will have 9.
They're
It's
9
not
slots,
separate.
but
It's so this isn't designed to be confusing. So sorry, but the idea behind it
Mm.
is one appointment at a time. We would build in flexibility if we identify that people who want the same appointment time are using 2 separate areas of the library.
okay, so
I-
the building capacity number as 5 isn't really, you're not really saying you're only gonna let 5 patrons in. Because what if
No.
a family with a mother and 2 kids and, that's 3 out of 5, does that mean only 2 more people can come in? That's not really what you
Again,
mean then.
these are target numbers and target dates. So the idea is we don't want much more than 5 people at a time, Jane. For the appointments.
Okay, but I mean, what if, okay, I think you'll see how it goes. I think you could manage more, but particularly if they're in different rooms.
So it sounds like maybe handling the initial phase 1 appointments by phone might be the best opportunity so that you can look at the schedule and say, okay, we've got 3 people in the children's room, but someone's calling to use that same time slot for, the teen room or the upstairs. It sounds like that'll just give you more insight into how many people are booking and then inform for maybe creating the form for the second phase.
How are other libraries
Good
doing
idea.
it?
Well, I do know how one other library is doing it, but it's a bigger library. And that's where some of my suggestions are coming from, is call instead of, anyway,
And
they
culture,
have different ways of doing it. But Mariah, I'm sure you've talked to other libraries, haven't you?
I mean, I talked to Paula when Paula was still there about what
Right?
he was doing. So what Jane is referring specifically to Ashland, and I was in regular contact with the director there before she retired.
Right.
I talked extensively with Heather Bachman in Hopkinton, and a lot a lot of our patrons right now, Jane, are using Hopkinton, at least the ones that I know about. So we really looked at how Hopkinton is handling patrons initially as kind of what we're using as our model. Because in talking with Heather, that was the best way to sort of ease people back into the building. A lot of people are planning to do by appointments for a long period of time. My goal in this sort of phased approach is to kind of do appointments for a little while, see how it's going, and then kind of ease into doing a limited capacity opening. I'm hoping that we can move towards the July reopening date fairly quickly. That's my hope. So that way, what a lot of people have told me, sort of one-on-one, I understand that people are upset the library's closed. All town departments are still closed. The only one that is sort of an exception is being made is the townhouse. They're letting people come in by appointments. So that is sort of, I'm kind of looking that as the initial model, right? Let's do the same thing that the townhouse is doing. But what people have shared with me is that even though the library, they'll be able to make an appointment or they'll be able to come in during a limited reopening, is that some patrons, even who have been vaccinated, are not going to feel comfortable initially coming in. So
that was what I was going to ask. Whatever Heather has determined in Hopkinton as the maximum, have they ever even gotten close to that?
So with the by appointments, there are times, especially after school, where they have a max, and they only let 10 people in at a time right now. About 10,000 square feet bigger. So we have a 14,000 square foot facility. We have, they have 24,000, we have 14,000, just to give you a point of comparison. And is not the only director I've talked to. I talked to a number of different directors about this. And Westboro is fairly, I mean, they have a break in the middle of the day and they're only open until 7, 2 nights a week, but they're a lot more open than Hopkinton is. And I spoke a lot with Maureen about how that's been working. And for that community, it's a larger community, but they have had very little problems. It's just, I know that there has been concern about the staff not being vaccinated. I have that concern as well. That is part of why we're talking about May as a projected time frame. I'm hoping that more vaccines become available, and this gives us a couple weeks to work out some of these issues. Like, should we only be doing phone calls at first versus an online form? You know, that's good feedback to get.
Yeah, I think a slow start, like you said, and then when you see, whether you're getting requests from two significantly different areas of the library, then upping the numbers. I think starting slow will help your staff feel more comfortable. I'd like to see them vaccinated before you get very far along. But I think slow and steady makes a lot of sense. It's a very thoughtful plan.
Well, I'm also concerned about people's behavior once they're in there. I mean, if, people are going to go back to old, you don't want them pulling in and out and looking at 20 books in the shelves and getting their hands all over everything. I hope people have gotten more concerned about that kind of thing, but I've seen people in grocery stores doing that. It makes me crazy. So.
Yeah, and there's also what happens when somebody's mask drops under their nose.
Or just takes it off.
Yeah. But,
so I think starting very low, seeing and then it makes sense to shut it down if people aren't behaving in responsible ways, But
And to the point about we're starting out with very limited appointments in a very specific time frame. Again, I mean, I'm trying to point to a plan that I can share with the staff, and I can, take some points out of and share generally with the public. But if somebody really wants to come in at a different time, because that's more convenient for their schedule, and we can accommodate that, we will try to do that as much as possible. But we really wanted a targeted time frame where we know we can help people the best. In the morning, we are dealing with taking items out of quarantine. We are dealing with Optima delivery. We are dealing with setting up the curbside efforts for the rest of the day. This is on top of the new book bundle service we're doing, the exchange, which is all going to primarily be done. People will make requests, but we're going to have to call them to schedule the curbsides. People won't be able to do that online. So it means the staff are going back on the phone, at least for those weeks that we're running that program. So I'm trying to be kind of thoughtful also about what we have the capacity to do, at least at first, and then looking at what the challenges are so we can address that month to month. And the other thing is, I'm sure you as the Board of Trustees will want updates on how things are going. Doing a month-to-month cycle lets us check in and then kind of make changes if we need to. A point that's been brought up to me is if somebody comes in and they test positive, right? Will we have to shut down the library completely, including curbside service? And the answer is yes. So what that means is, sort of a con, I would say, in all of this is if we start letting people back in and there is, a potential of infection,
right.
I have to shut everything down.
So
people can't come in then either, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So currently, every book
Yeah.
that goes out on loan comes back and is quarantined for 3 days before it goes back into the circulation?
A minimum of 72 hours. If it's on the weekend, sometimes it's a little bit longer.
Right, which is a good practice, I think, since we don't know what's cooking. But how is that different from somebody handling books in the stacks?
Or somebody taking something from the stack and going to the desk to check it out.
Yeah.
We are going to have sanitizers at the doorways when people come in, and we are going to strongly encourage that people sanitize upon entry.
That's pretty much what you have to do everywhere. Any office
Yeah.
you go to right now.
And I mean, bookstores are open. I think the difference is, I think the research, and Ryan would know best, is that they don't think COVID lingers on surfaces. It's the airborne and aspiration. So
And is there
the more concern would be
right.
coming
Yeah,
off,
I
refusing
think
to wear them, that kind of thing, more than the touching, I think.
And
Maybe
somebody's
little kids drooling, but
right. Well, but somebody's taking a temperature every time for every patron who comes in, right, at the door?
There's a temperature. We have an electronic temperature gauge.
Okay.
People can take their own temperature. So we'll make them aware of what we offer. We'll have sanitizers. We'll have the temperature It's like an electronic thermometer.
Right.
So you can go in, you stick your forehead in it and it gives you your temperature.
Mhm.
Okay, when do you foresee, I mean, one question, discuss this with the staff and what do they think?
So I'm gonna, based on our conversation today, I'm gonna have a staff meeting, but I have, I've told a few of you, I've unofficially polled the staff on this. And they were a lot more receptive, I'll say, to people coming in than I initially thought without being vaccinated first. This has been successful in other library locations. And I can tell you the majority of the Hopkinton staff and Westboro staffs are not vaccinated and they're letting patrons in right now. So.
Okay, so we still have another trustees meeting before this is implemented, but I guess my other question was, when do you foresee letting, notifying the public of the opening, the public?
Probably after our next trustees meeting, if
Alright.
we cross the Ts and dot all the Is. It's Jane, don't apologize for making suggestions on the plan. That was why we were discussing it at this point, and that's why we're looking at May as a potential target. It's so that we can address all of the concerns and the potential issues that we have. But Jane is familiar with what Ashland has been doing. And I would identify Ashland, especially last fall, was open a lot of hours and they did not have a lot of issues. And Paula was very helpful in talking about how we would do public computer use, which I would like to offer internet machines to the public, because we haven't been asked frequently, but a couple people have asked. And I would like to, it'll be limited if they're coming in for appointments, but at least they could come in and print something out at the very least. And I'd like to offer that again. So.
Okay. So shall we just, I'm getting the sense that we're sort of cautiously supportive of this. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And we will have another meeting to discuss it. If anybody doesn't have no more comments on this right now, we could move on to the Assistant Library Director job description approval, follow-up.
I should just say, if anybody has additional thoughts on modifications or language in the plan, feel free to reach out to me one-on-one and we can look at those. I think I'm already looking at making a potential change in the by appointment model to encourage people to call on the phone. I like that idea, Jane. I think that helps us. I think that'll help us intake patrons a little bit easier. So.
Yeah, I think so. And I think when you said, like you said, just making sure you discuss everything with people in the short term, I think that, in the initial stages, I think I agree. Phone call makes sense.
Yeah,
And I'll include my email. So if people want to communicate electronically, they can talk to me and we can try to set up a good time for them on the phone if that's easier for them. So.
And I assume you'll rotate. If somebody's had an appointment, then they'd have to wait until everybody else who wanted one got one before they got a second one, right?
We would try not to let I don't think we'll have one person who wants to come in for an appointment every day, but we'll see if that happens. Yeah.
You never know. Anyway, okay, so good. Let's look at the Assistant Library Director job description. It's been through a couple of iterations here. And
Ryan, could you just quickly highlight the changes or additions that you made from the previous iteration, please?
Sure. Most of the beginning in the position overview is the same, but what is new is responsible for organizing and maintaining a specific area of the library. We use the example of the children's room, and then assumes the role of the library director in their absence. That is also new.
Okay, thank you.
There was, I think we took one or two things out because they were specific to more sort of the young adult area. So now they're duplicated in the teen librarian position description. But I can tell you one area that's new is maintains, and it should be in schedules with an S, the use of the Ella Eaton meeting room for the public. That's new.
what does maintains mean?
So if we need to move furniture back prior to a meeting, so like, let's say we configure it to be kind of a lecture setup.
Okay,
We want to have a meeting room set up. It's really, all of the tables are on wheels. So we're talking about maybe 2 to 3 minutes of just,
okay, so they're responsible for the, okay,
And I assume it also makes, making sure whatever group borrowed it hasn't left it in a total mess. That kind of stuff, just keeping an eye on it. Yeah,
yes. Or that there's no damage in the room.
right.
That also
Yeah.
is that, yeah.
Could you say the other two that you've added again? Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yep, so in the position description, the last 2 sentences are new, starting with
Oh,
responsible.
okay, thank you.
okay, and I had 2 grammatical twiggles. Under requirements, it says master's degree in library science required. You've already said it's a requirement up above. Do you really need to say required again?
you
Requirements,
don't.
master's degree in library science.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that can be removed.
take it
Where
out.
is it? Where's the first one?
The first one is, oh, Jane, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Under job responsibilities, everything in that bullet point list is a verb, except for the first item, which is working knowledge. And I would say something like knows library hardware and software operations, including spreadsheet and word processing applications. It's just a grammatical thing, but it's develops, oversees, develops, serves as, attends, right? And then the first one is a noun.
You could even just say has working knowledge of library hardware.
I like that.
If you want.
Jane.
All right.
If you have
I'm
to,
happy.
you can keep your words, just put in the verb. Yeah,
Yeah.
good catch.
And other than that, I think it looks fine.
Oh, sorry, I'm still going over the new additions, if that's okay, to go back to that.
Oh,
So another new area, because I'm sorry, I'm still responding to David's question. The manages circulating museum passes and Tix Keeper software system is also new. And then like where it says youth services, I believe it used to say teen services. That was a change.
Where's that?
the next line.
Develops plans
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
implements all aspects of youth.
Youth
services.
services. Okay.
Yep, good.
Looks great.
And then in the oversees the acquisitions line, that part used to say a specific area of the library
Mhm.
was added to the position overview up above. So it was just, the language is still there, it was just moved slightly. And then on the requirements section, a lot of that was directly lifted from the teen description. Because we did so many updates on the requirements and they are kind of relevant to both positions. So the first 2 lines, the master's degree and the 2 to 3 years of relevant experience, that is unique to the assistant director position rather.
Okay.
There was a note I got about in the physical requirements. It says walking, but what if somebody who applied in a wheelchair, could they feasibly do the assistant director job? And the answer I had to give was yes. So I will say, since we're doing edits anyway, I want to remove the word walking after I got that note. It does say other physical things. We are having the town's ADA committee look at all job descriptions at some point. I've made the request to the assistant town administrator to do that based on some of the vision language that we looked at for the teen position. So they're going to be looking at everything.
Yeah, I
I was
Does that mean you'd have to
uncomfortable.
take out standing also if you're
Well,
covering
I
that?
was gonna say, what about mobility instead of walking, or if you feel the need? I just, as I told you, I'm comfortable with the walking part, but if they
Standing,
need to be
that's a
mobile, yeah.
Standing and walking.
standing and walking, yeah.
Ryan, I
I'm sorry,
think
Kim, I talked over.
the whole bullet is problematic from an
Yeah.
ADA
Okay.
perspective.
Yeah.
So I would think that the town would have some updated verbiage for that because we do want to be inclusive.
Okay. I don't disagree, Kim. I think, I know that the frequently required to lift 10 pounds, occasionally lifting up to 30 pounds is required. That was something that Vanessa gave me feedback many years ago, needs to be in all the descriptions because they need to have a lifting requirement, I believe, because of something related to OSHA. So that I think the town is asking us to include, but I mean, the ability to tolerate quiet to moderate noise, I don't have a problem with. That whole second line, I would agree is problematic based on if somebody's suffering from a physical disability.
Yeah.
Why not just say ability to tolerate quiet to I would say low to moderate noise, but okay. And then just go frequently required to lift 10 pounds, occasionally up to 30 pounds.
Yeah, I think
And
striking
required is
certain-
twice in that sentence, right? Frequently required is required. That's that.
Well, you have, it's under requirements, so
Right.
you could leave out
One of the
the
requirements.
whole physical requirement thing, because that's just one more thing.
Yeah,
You're, sorry, Ryan, we're picking it apart.
Yeah, and
it's here to pick apart, Jane, so don't apologize.
it's actually
Right.
an interesting piece of requirements. Ability to tolerate quiet. What is quiet noise?
Quiet noise. That's a,
Well, it's a library.
yeah. Moderate noise would be
maybe
better.
OSHA,
Oh, moderate noise. Oh,
I would just
Why
leave
does-
out. I would just put moderate noise instead.
why is that even in there? It's
I don't know.
it's well,
I
that doesn't, why should you have to say that?
there may be some OSHA requirements specific to things, I think.
So,
So
Ryan-
you
But the
shouldn't
town-
expect it to be silent. You have,
Right,
there
I
are
think
people
it-
talking.
When they're
Makes
when they're
sense for us to
replacing the
do
roof,
this.
right?
Ryan, can you find out
Oh.
what the requirements are for OSHA and then see how we could make this a more, inclusive position for those who may have disabilities?
Yes, and then
And
also
Mr. Litt has made a
Mr.
comment
Litt has made a comment.
here. Yeah. He says, ADA requires reasonable accommodations for disabilities. You want to focus on the task rather than how it is accomplished. Thank you. So
Cool.
you need the task. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The task they have to do, we don't need to tell them how they have to do it, I guess.
Okay, so Ryan, do you want to take that back and take another whack at it, or should we do it right now? They need to stoop or reach with hands and arms, and they need to lift 10 to 30 pounds. And they need to be
Right.
able to operate light equipment, hand tools, computers, and various office machines. I don't know if we need
Yeah.
the noise thing in there, but
I don't
For
think,
the
I don't think we,
student-
honestly, I don't think the noise thing needs to be in there either.
No,
I think the word reasonable accommodations does need to be in there for ADA. I would echo what Mr. Litt just commented. And then I believe the lifting requirement, there's something specific about that. Let me follow up with Vanessa. Let me see where the ADA committee is at. This description is just a draft for us to review because it's an update from the existing description. So I will say I don't think it's being picked apart. I think we needed to make some edits to make it a stronger document, and we'll just come back and review it next month.
that's fine. And I think basically, again, from what Tim Litt said, it's like you have to be able to lift books basically and operate light equipment.
At least one book at a time. I will say this is a lot more in line currently, and with some of the suggested edits, our current assistant director. So I'm happy with the progress we've made this meeting, and I'm sure we'll be happier next meeting.
Okay, good. So we're almost there, except for the ADA/physical requirements.
It was my first crack at it, guys.
I think it looks good. And Jane,
So-
you did a lot of this too, right?
yeah, we did it for, Amy and I did it a couple of years ago, just to get it all into this format. So
Yeah,
it
it's
was,
kind of your skeleton.
it was 3 or 4 pages long before. This is more manageable.
Ryan,
Jane, it was.
do you
5
see Mr.
pages.
Litt's comment?
5 pages.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
gosh,
a
that's a great
monster.
whittling. There's a
Yeah.
comment from Mr. Litt that makes sense. So just so you can use it, Ryan.
Yep, I'm seeing it. Mr. Litt should email me his comments though and not come in the meeting.
Basically, rather than say stoops and
Sorry, Tim.
just say access books on shelves at high
Yeah.
school.
Stu.
That's true. Focus on what they're doing, not how they're doing it. Anyway. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Ryan, for all your work on that too. Okay, our last big item, I think, for this meeting is the candidates night event, which is now being called Meet the Candidates because it's not really going to be the same as it was before.
You're burying the lead, Marguerite.
Well, all right.
So,
What's the lead? Give me the lead back. What is it?
so I know we added this to the agenda, and we had a discussion last year about this, does the library want to do candidates night? So we're not doing in-person programs, even with our by appointment model, right? And the logistics of trying to do a version of candidates night outside is going to be, I think, unmanageable. A lot of what we get feedback on year to year is people who have problems with the auditory. They can't hear the candidates, and we don't have external power. So I can't mic people
No,
up.
we can't do it outside. It's not.
Can't do it outside.
Basically, Jim Haggerty emailed me and said, can you do, would you consider, would the library consider doing a virtual meeting with the candidates? There are 13 people running for office. There's one contested race, which is selectman, which is Andrew Dennington and Selectman Shea.
Brian Shea, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're still in the race against each other. All the others, there's 13 of them. It's Board of Assessors, Commissioner of Trust Funds, Board of Health, which is very important at this point, a Board of Selectmen, that may be 2 people, Board of Trustees of the Southborough Library. As we know, we have 2 people who are up for re-election. The school committee has 2 people, the town moderator, the planning board has 1, the housing authority has 1, and the Southborough School Committee have 2. So the thought was that we could do it as a Zoom, as a recorded Zoom, and people who are running for office could give, since they're unopposed, could do a 5-minute speech explaining basically who I am and why I'm running and what my qualifications are, not necessarily in that order. And that it would be a fairly, it wouldn't be like our other ones, which have food and companionship and da 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 da. It would be more simply informational with a chance for each of the candidates to introduce themselves to the community via electronically. And I thought it was a good idea because I don't know some of the people who are running, and I assume a lot of the other people in town don't know some of the people who are running. So we thought we would set that up.
I just have a question. Why doesn't Sam do something like this?
They are the electronics people, but they are not the organizational people. And the
Okay,
library.
thank you.
Sam who?
For you.
Who's Sam?
Southborough Access Media.
Oh.
Right.
Thank you. Okay.
I think that it's going to require contacting everybody who's running, asking them to submit what they want to read, and for the one race that's contested, maybe have some questions for the candidates so that they can discuss in more detail, since it's an important race, what their position would be.
We should note that people have pulled papers, and that is who we're discussing. Traditionally, because I follow this event every year because of Candidates Night, not everybody who pulls papers for elected position ends up returning them. So we should note that, because it may be that there is a potential, I should say, for a contested race. We don't know that for sure there will be until a couple.
Yes, yeah, that's true. But aside from the fact that we may or may not have a contested race, there are people running for these boards that I think a lot of people in town are not familiar with and wouldn't know if they met on the street. And that's why I think it'd be a good thing if you people on the trustees are interested in following up on this, for the library to do a sort of virtual version of the candidates night we've been doing for years.
So
I think most people who are or at least who've taken papers out so far are running for re-election.
Yeah,
But I don't disagree that it's to offer them a forum to reach out and say what they're, doing, or if you have, I don't know the terminology. If you have one of these things that a ton of people can sign on to, can they ask questions? Can they do a live question thing?
You
we've
can raise your
talked a lot.
hand, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how to structure questions. There's a potential that they could. So right now we are running this meeting live in because we don't have the ability to run a public program on Zoom live. Let me just say that, because we won't be using the town's account in order to do the program. We'll be using a library account. So I could investigate the idea of doing it live, but what we will probably do it is as a pre-recorded program. Marguerite and I have kind of discussed how we would approach questions with the event, just in brainstorming. And we have thought that we'd really like people to pose their questions in advance so that we could then ask the candidates, as sort of an MC. I'll tell you, we allowed during the virtual author night I did last year, people to ask questions at the end. And I went over ground rules with people and people did not follow them at all. I said, please raise your hand before you unmute. People just didn't do that. So I'm not to say that people wouldn't follow the rules in any potential program that we offer, but I think the potential exists that they wouldn't. So to me, it
Okay.
makes sense that if you have a question for a candidate and you want it to be posed at the event, that you send that to Margaret, you send it to us, and then we're able to pass that question along. And I'd like to be able to say who is asking it, at least with like a first name or something.
Yeah,
So-
that makes sense. I think that's fair.
Because
I think you should have the whole name. Because people would have to show them, wouldn't they? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but wouldn't they have, if you're on Zoom, people know who you are. Wouldn't that create more civility?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I think the big thing is keeping it civil. I would, that I think is important. That's always something we try to do during the in-person event. So.
So the last day to submit nomination papers is March 23rd.
That's correct.
And the election is May 3rd, am I right? What day is the election?
I don't know. It's usually that first week in May.
Right.
Yeah,
so
it's on a Monday now. So
the last
probably-
week of April.
we'd probably be looking at doing the event sometime the week of April 26th, most likely on the 28th or 29th. I could do it earlier. I could do it the week before. If you
That's school vacation week, isn't it?
Yeah.
School vacation week is the week before, so that's the problem we run into, Janet. You hit it right on the head. Tuesday is more of an issue too, because so many in the evening, so many boards and committees meet that we traditionally have not been able to do it on Tuesday and get everybody who's running part of the event.
But this is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
It will be pre-recorded, yes, but it'll take time to edit different blocks from people together. So the idea is to have everybody who's running come on the same night and do their statement.
Can it be done in such a way that people could watch it at various times?
Yes, we'll be able to record it and then I will be able to post it on a YouTube channel.
Okay, that's terrific.
Amy, to answer your question, we might work with Southborough Access Media to do that so that we can publicize it on the cable station. But Access Media really films and broadcasts public programs or board and committee meetings. They don't actually organize them. So traditionally, the candidates night or this Meet the Candidates title to sort of differentiate it, that was what we called it the very first year of its inception. We called it Meet the Candidates. So this is a way to kind of harken back to the library's history. So, and really, if we're not talking about too many contested races, this is a way to give a visual indicator and to hear from the people you're voting for, which I think would be good for everyone.
Okay, so the town election is on the 11th of May, Tuesday, the 11th of May. So we're looking at maybe the last week in April.
Yeah, I like April 28th and 29th.
Okay, that's a
honest,
Wednesday. and
Because
a
then that
Thursday.
gives us a way to troubleshoot any technical issues, or I'm really hoping we don't have to edit people in. I'd like to try to get all of the people running on a call so that we can run the event together. But this is always traditionally the problem with candidates night, trying to get all of the people running for office to commit to the same day at the same time. You guys are busy people. It's busy for other people who are on boards and committees too. So that'll be a challenge in of itself.
Well, in theory, if somebody can't make it because they're in Antarctica, they could send a 5-minute video of their position and so on and so forth, and we could add it to the mix.
Hopefully less than 5 minutes, right?
I'm gonna say right now, if people try to record something and send it in to me for me to edit the presentation, that's gonna be extremely difficult.
Okay,
Trying to get everybody, I'd rather try to position it so that we have everybody on the Zoom at the same time.
all right.
We can try to look at different models, Marguerite, depending on people's availability.
So just to not make this more difficult, because this will happen around the same time you're looking to plan to open the library. I know that my Southborough usually accepts letters from candidates. I just want to make sure we're not duplicating any efforts, because, you know, if it's just as easy for people to read people's statements on my Southborough, does it make sense for us to have to edit this whole video for everyone running, even if they're not contested? Maybe we should focus on a panel for the contested races, because I think that forum is most important for people to decide between two candidates versus just
Yes, and there's only one contested at this point, and it may not be contested if Mr. Shea doesn't get his papers back.
Mhm.
And Kim, to your point, that was something that we considered. You know, I think we decided not to do just a contested race panel last year as an event, because the logistics of trying to manage questions was going to be kind of daunting. We only had one contested race last year, and it was for selectmen, I believe. I don't know if there was another contested race. I remember the selectman one because we had 3 people running for 2 positions. We can look at different models. I kind of like the idea of, even if it was an incumbent, having them be able to come on the Zoom and make a statement, because you are great, Kim, and David is great, but I don't think people always know that you are library trustees necessarily, or know like what you kind of bring to the board and what your interest level is and the contributions you've made over for David in the last year and you, Kim, for several years. So this is a way to kind of highlight that, and for other people from other boards and committees who are incumbents to also kind of say what they've contributed and what they've done. So I'm really hoping that it's like kind of a nice event, because so many people put so much energy and time into their respective positions, that this would be a nice way to highlight that.
That's good. I actually have a 1 o'clock call, so I need to jump off soon.
Okay,
Okay.
Sorry, the meeting went so long.
no, that's fine. What about if I ask everybody to, if you have any thoughts about this, email them to Ryan, so that we don't get into a problem of deliberating about anything, but just use him as the sort of clearinghouse for that.
What
That's a good idea.
Marguerite and I would also like from the board really quickly is just, Marguerite and I would like to take the lead on the event. So we just want to make sure that that's okay with the rest of the board.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's fine, yes.
Yep, sounds good.
Thank you, I guess. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, and second.
Second,
All right, trustee Davis,
bye.
trustee Ekberg,
Aye.
trustee Landry, aye, trustee Maney,
Aye.
trustee Estani.
Bye.
Okay, do we have, it? No, trustee Reagan, you're still with us.
Hi.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good
Okay.
week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.